Hi, I'm Seamless, and it's Wednesday, which means it's time for a new viewer track reviews, which I almost forgot how to say for a second because it's not a show I have said very often. But it's time for one, and usually the way that I want to do this is I pick 4 tracks, 2 of them that I like and 2 of them that I don't really like, and then try and help or whatever. Today I felt like just doing one where they're all ones that I like, which don't worry, I'll definitely find some things to talk about. Let's say to them, but I have generally previewed them and I kind of already dig them. This one is called Pressure Washer by Aerostatic with a K. That's this song. Let's see. Do I want to have this thing up here? I guess I don't really need it. Let's go fresh. So that track was smooth, nice, had good rhythm. A lot about this didn't really bother me. In fact, most of what I'm going to say about it is pretty much just my opinion about things I think that could have been better or at least not have been the same. The first thing that got me was that after this humongous intro, which I got really into kind of like the atmosphere of everything, having it being just obliterated by the side shading was jarring in a way that I didn't necessarily like. So there was that. It seemed to me that every time this part happened, that it was the same. And it may have been different this time. So it was different that time. And that was the only other time it happened. So that's not necessarily a bad thing to do. There have actually been songs I've made in the past where like whole swaths of like the drop were just cloned the second time, and it was just so complicated that nobody ever noticed. This song is not complicated enough to get that, for that to have gone unnoticed. A lot of the sound design was very inconsistent. Like the main sounds like are very sharp. Like this sound in particular, like it's super duper sharp, and then we have these as the main sound, which it's fine. And again, it's just my opinion, but it got old extremely fast. And we get these sweet moments there, a couple extra neat ones, like when we get around here, which I don't know is very simple, but like they're different, right? They're there. They give you contrast to what's already there, but it doesn't happen nearly enough. And when it does happen, you can basically just see that this was cloned. Even if there were differences that are notable, like you can still just see the pattern of it being double from here onward. Like boom and then boom. Which, I mean, it didn't stop me from grooving to it. You know, it was you definitely had a nice riff. There was riffs in there, and like a great, nice groove. So Why Fuck With Well works. But for this kind of song, it seems, for like a genre of music that seems to rely on interesting sound design and keeping your listeners interested, this track I feel like may have that as a bit of a weakness. Though it doesn't hamper kind of the overall quality to it. This is a very, very functional track, and everything else about it is just very on point. Those are just the parts that I picked out. So that was that track. It's called Pressure Washer by Aerostatic. What's next? I'm going to assume that this track is called Blastin by AP250. It's a seamless review. I get to name all myself. So that was that song. This, I'm pretty much fine with everything that's happening here. I don't really think it's anything particularly special. I think it's just good. And it is very solidly good. It's got a reasonable kind of...
Drop it.
It feels a little too close, you know? Like, there's not a lot of air to the sound, which a lot of this style of music does have just a huge amount of air. This has almost no air, which I don't necessarily think is a bad thing, because a big part of sort of modern trap is that big sounding air kind of reverb, just large kind of deal. But the thing is, old school hip hop didn't have a lot of that. Old school hip hop was sampled from a lot of records with very tight recordings and not a huge amount of air in anything. And so all of it was going on in the song was just right there, right in the middle, right in your face. And this is what that reminds me of, this particular track, which may or may not have been intentional, but boy, did it have work out. The other thing that bugs me more so than that is just this instrument. That sound, that chord is too loud. And it's too loud because it feels like it's on top of what's going on in the drop when the drop's not happening. Like, it just feels like a wholly different song just started, and it was too on this song compared to what should be the top thing on this song. It's just, and this is a pretty easy solution, just turn it down. It doesn't need to be that loud. This could be one opportunity to add a little bit of air to the song, is to just put some in there. But again, I like the motif of it being super duper close. Super duper close. Not very dense. It's kind of light and fluffy. You know, there's not a whole lot going on, which may or may not have been what you wanted to do. Maybe you wanted to make the biggest thing that ever was large and feeling and huge and whatever. But the way that you failed in doing that succeeded in being cool for different ways, if that actually was your goal. So that was cool. This track I only heard snippets of, but I'm fairly certain it's going to be ridiculous. This is called Going Down by Babocon. Babocon. I'm still gotta get because I was talking. That track was basically fully sick from beginning to end. Everything about that was just technically beautiful. It was an engineering masterpiece. Just watching that is just great. In fact, like, this style of sound design and style of music is typically not this listenable. There's a lot of people who make beats like this, and they're not even really beats. Like, as much as the sound design in this track seemed wild and like unyieldingly, relentlessly different every other second, but there was still kind of a rhythm there, but the beat was always where you'd want it to be. You could headbang to it. You knew what the groove was. A lot of tracks like this don't have that. They have, as wild as the sound design is, so is the beat, and it's similarly technically beautiful, but it's hard to listen to. You have to actually put effort into listening to it, which has its place. It's a wonderful thing. But this has that kind of complexity that lets me groove to it. I can actually listen to it and enjoy it and do other stuff, which is not super true for many other kinds of tracks in the style of heavier and way more ridiculous, challenging to listen to and challenging to make music. So hats off to this guy, Babocon, for his track, their track, her track. I don't actually know. Like literally 98% chance of his track going down. And then there's this. If there are ever two more opposite tracks in the world, it's this track and the one right before it. This particular track had almost no sound design complexity to speak of, but it was just solid groove the whole way through. Sounding, it's not terrible to say that it has no sound design to speak of. It has plenty of good sampling chops. There's plenty of that going on. Lots of nice arrangement of musical sounding bits that came together quite nicely. As the reverse guitars were kind of cool, like the voices in there and all those things, and on top of just a solid loop with some reasonable samples on top, and you got just the most comfortable track I could ever listen to. See, I listen to stuff that isn't just bass the whole time. Anyway, that's it for today, these 4 tracks. If you'd like to make a submission for yourself, check out my website, SeamlessR.com. Go to the contact page and go to submissions, where all the rules about this are in play. Please read all of them. They're important. And then the link will be in the description of my video. So, yay. Neat. Also, I don't know who made this, because it's called Working Out. Unless it's the artist name is Workin' and the track's name was It Out, which would have been a reasonable play on words if you chose for your name to be Workin'. Yeah. If you have any questions about this, please let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as usual, have a nice day.